would love a night game anywhere in the Iron Bowl, but I just think it's going to be
I don't know. I kind of think it's going to be a night game and cap the day off, but we'll see.
But let's start right here at the top, and we're starting with our second half preview of the Auburn football 2024 season. Now, to be clear, folks, this is not a prediction show yet. We will do that next episode, the last week up until the season. But this is just, let's walk through the season, talk about it. What are our feelings about it? What's happening in that game? What's the significance around it? I would highly recommend you go back and listen to that segment. We put this segment out on YouTube. You can also find that segment on the audio portion as well. So you can get our perspectives of the first 6 games, which, as a reminder, let's see if I can do it by memory, Austin. Alabama A&M, Cal, New Mexico, it's in my head, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and then Georgia. The 5 home games stand and the 1 on the road. Go back and look at all of that. Let me ask you this to start off with, Austin. Is the first half easier than the second half?
Yes.
Not even waiting for me to get done. Why is that?
Well, I mean, you've got the obvious is that you've got the two of the kind of, I don't like calling them cupcakes, but the 2 of the non-conference lower division ish, if you want to call them that, games, right? Yep. You've got 1 in the second half. I recognize that. But then you've also got Cal, who I think we should absolutely respect. They played Auburn great last year. But you get that one at home. It's also a non-conference game. And so you look at that. Yes, Georgia's in there. That's kind of where the only thing with a leg standing for the first half. So, I think it's safe to say the second half is going to be a little bit more difficult, but that's about what you would expect in the SEC.
Yeah, and I think you're getting into SEC play that obviously informs things are going to get a little bit tougher. Now you throw Vanderbilt into the mix, we'll get there. That obviously eases things a little bit. I think just the simple fact alone that Auburn will have spent 5 games of the first half at home and will not spend the month of October at all in Auburn.
A tragedy.
And this is not just like you and I out of preference saying this. This is a bad thing for like Auburn, the city.
Yes.
The businesses, they need that in there to drive during the month of October. Yes, they're going to have it all they can stand through September. They're going to have all they can stand in December as well. But let's spread the love a little bit, okay? I'm just asking for the future from this day forward.
Oh boy.
No more.
Look, it's no secret that's the best weather too. We all know that. It's just ridiculous. And we've ranted about that a few times on here before, so there's no need to go into it.
There's no need for it.
It's ridiculous.
There's no need. All right, let's jump into it. Let's walk through the schedule a little bit with everybody and talk about it and see what we think. We are starting with Game 7, Auburn at Missouri. It will be the early kickoff, which I believe is officially slated for between 11 and 11:30, something like that is the early kickoff.
Gross.
I know.
Gross.
It just says early on the official schedule for the SEC network.
Yeah, official. Well, we're not going to put times on the official.
We are going to announce so you all know exactly when to expect your games and can plan for your Saturdays in the fall. And then psych early. That's all they'll tell you. But that means that Auburn is for sure in store for whether you believe in superstitions at all. I am definitely a little stitious when it comes to Auburn playing at 11 a.m. on a road game. Auburn at Missouri. This game is with a Missouri team that a lot of people are high on right now. I'm not convinced one way or the other on them. What do you think? I mean, should we be worried about this one?
Like, I'm not big on Missouri. I think last year, it's not a fluke. I think they have an experienced quarterback. And they have a lot of pieces. I think Drinkwitz probably fits them really well. And I think he does a good job there. I'm not positive they're going to get the kind of year they had last year again. However, I'm a little stitious and then some. The 11 on the road is it has not been a good recipe for Auburn. I don't like it. I don't like it in a weird place like Missouri, who shouldn't be in this conference anyway. And that's gonna be a weird one. I'll be very happy if Auburn squeaks out of there with a 10-7 win. So I don't know what that's gonna look like. We'll talk about our predictions next week, but that's gonna be a weird game. I just have a feeling.
And remember, folks, too, this is following the first bye week. So that's my other.
That is good.
Is it though? Is it though?
Well, after going to Athens, maybe.
Yeah, I think it is the most ill-timed. I get what you mean from like a recovery. We've been through a
Sure.
very busy time standpoint. Yes, I agree with you there. I just would much rather be having Vanderbilt coming up after that first game.
That's fair.
A Missouri team that's highly regarded at this point, whether it actually happens or not. So let's be a little stitious on that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Next game up, game 8, that it would be at Kentucky in Lexington. It will be a night game, which will be a lot of fun. I personally, having been to a game in Lexington for Auburn during the championship year, had a lot of fun there. It's a little annoying at times because they go first down Kentucky every time.
Oh wow, just like that.
Did you experience that, or they stopped doing that?
No, 5 years later than you went, but I did experience that.
I have that sound just. I wake up in a cold sweat at night just hearing that. It was awful. This one I think is going to be a lot of fun, to be honest with you, because the night game atmosphere, it's going to feel like a football game because it's a Kentucky. The weather will probably. This will feel like the first, I think, football game because of a lot of those factors when they end up kicking off on that day.
Agreed. And it's going to be. I wish that was one we could experience here, but it's going to be special. Kentucky. I like the campus of University of Kentucky. I like their stadium. I think it's a good place, and Mark Stoops has them playing really well and has built a program there. So I don't think that will be a walk in the park at all. At night, is it Kroger Field now? I think is there.
Well, I do know that it's C.M. Newton Stadium, and when we walked in there during the championship year, and I said, "Okay, is somebody playing a joke on us because Cam Newton is already owning the stadium," which he did that night. It was an incredible night for him. Yeah, I think it is Kroger Field now.
So it'll be a good atmosphere. I think you're right. That's going to be a good football night for Auburn, and the performance we'll have to see. I'm not where I want to be on that one yet.
Yep. And so after that one, we are returning home with the Vanderbilt Commodores for another early game. Now, I hate early games, but at least it's at home and it's against Vanderbilt. So not to dismiss our very smart brethren in the SEC of Vanderbilt, I do appreciate that they will finally get to see how to properly construct in time a video board
That's true.
an SEC stadium.
They'll get a first-hand look.
First-hand look,
They'll drive into the away side of the stadium and they'll be like, "Oh look,
you time it out so that you don't look like the laughing stock of the SEC because y'all couldn't properly get everything going." I get, folks, that there was rain, all that stuff that threw things.
Whatever.
But let's come on. Yeah, you're Vanderbilt. You should have known this. You're smarter than that. All right, or you're supposed to be. I don't have much more to say than it's Vanderbilt.
That one will hopefully be a sigh of relief from a long road trip and a long trip away from home. But Vanderbilt has played Auburn pesky sometimes in Jordan here, so we'll see.
And they do have a certain quarterback that gave Auburn.
They do, and the old head coach.
And we'll leave it there. Next one up, La Mo. This one also is at home. Louisiana-Monrow, I guess I should say, for those that don't know what La Mo is.
The Warhawks.
I'll tell you who does know who La Mo is. Alabama. 11:45. So let me just point this out to you, Austin. We have got a list.
Kyle, you're going to make my blood pressure rise.
Why am I going to make your blood pressure rise?
Because we're talking about these times. Go ahead.
But
I'm ready.
We have a list of early, but we have this specific time for this game. And let me make your blood boil even more.
Find your happy place. Find the happy place.
Why is this not the homecoming game?
Kyle, I don't know. I don't make these decisions. You and I have discussed this. Why would you pick the perfect weather day? And why would you, instead of, why would you pick this day when we could all sweat together and think about our beautiful campus in September? I don't know.
It would just make too much sense, wouldn't it?
It wouldn't.
Look, again, similar to Vanderbilt, Auburn is going to be expected to win this one. We don't need to take anyone lightly, as last year, as certain other people have taken
We're aware.
Lamo, and as Lamo has not been taken seriously by other prominent programs in the state too, and suffered losses. So we will hopefully take them seriously and take care of business, which brings us to Texas A&M. This one, Austin, may end up being the game of the year in a sense. And I know that's a bit of a step out, but think about what could happen in this schedule. Wins and losses wise to this point. Auburn will have been through a very rough stretch on the road and then come home, face Vanderbilt, fight against Lamo. And then you get at last big home game against Texas A&M. I believe it will be Military Appreciation Day. It usually is with them if it's not already listed up. No, actually, it's the game before that. So I'm wrong.
It'll be Senior Day though.
It'll be Senior Day. That's weird that we're not. I get we had to mix that up with Senior Day and stuff like that. But anyway, Texas A&M back here after they were embarrassed for the most part by Cadillac Williams in his debut in Jordan-Hare Stadium 2 years ago. This will be a fun one, I think, and for hopefully a night game. It's flex at this point.
That was my next question. Yeah, I hope that is very similar in the not in the way that it was turmoil leading up to that game and why it was so energetic, but hopefully the same energy is there for that last home game. Hopefully it's a night game, and that we get that kind of atmosphere. I think it'd be great to have that. It will be, like you said, late November. It'll be perfect weather. So that's going to be a great game. Mike Elko and his first year at Texas A&M. It'll be very interesting to see where they're at by then. But there's a lot of talent on that roster for him to work with. So we'll see. That's going to be one where the outcome could kind of shift how we look at the end result of the season. So not to say that game specifically, but where you are in records and things like that.
Yep. And keep in mind, folks, that if Auburn has a very respectable year up to that point, and so does Texas A&M, it may be very intriguing to a lot of TV providers and I guess ESPN and ABC who own the SEC now to potentially put that at a prime time game. So we'll watch that one very eagerly, but of course, take care of the business up there. Speaking of business, the final one, as it always is, the greatest rivalry in college football, the greatest rivalry in college sports, the greatest rivalry, and this is where I get in trouble, but I don't care, in sports, Auburn versus Alabama in Tuscaloosa, a flex time kickoff, which means it will still most likely be at a midday kickoff, which is what it's supposed to be. Let's be honest. I mean, I know we love our
You
night
think
game.
it will be?
I don't see how.
I'm not sold on it.
I don't see how you don't put it there because we know that Michigan, Ohio State's going to have that 11 o'clock slot as it always has. They're going to want to flow that nicely over. I know it's different channels and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't see how that formula doesn't continue to work for TV providers. I would love a night game anywhere in the Iron Bowl, but I just think it's going to be the two.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of think it's going to be a night game and cap the day off, but we'll see. I think the storyline with this one, in a weird way, as we're talking about it on Auburn show, it really has nothing to do with Auburn. It's going to be Kalen DeBoer's first Iron Bowl.
Right.
He gets his first Iron Bowl at home, and so I think that is a place Auburn hasn't won in 14 years. So I think that they will be very interesting what kind of season they've had up till that point. There's tons of talent on that roster for him still. And he's a smart coach. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the storylines are going into that game. On the contrast, this is Hugh Freeze's first Iron Bowl in Tuscaloosa after playing them so closely last year and losing on heartbreak. So it will be a fantastic game. It always is. The build up and lead up to it will be fantastic. And like you said, Kyle, I know that it has been rough sledding here for Auburn fans over the last few years in this game. It is still the best rivalry. And I look forward to it every year.
And every year you throw the records out, you
That's
throw the storylines out, and you go play football. And a lot of time magic happens for both sides. but more often than not, it feels like it happens for the Auburn Tigers. So we'll see if that continues this year in T-Town. Regardless, it's going to be a fun one there. Fun one for the rest of the season. So we have now previewed everything, the first half, the second half. Next week, look forward to it. Our predictions are coming up for you.